Welcome back to the All Sorts podcast. You know, I often think about each listen, share, and subscribe as these little sparks, right? Like each one of you tuning in is a spark of curiosity. And when you share it, when you like it, you kind of ignite that spark in someone else's mind. It's like we're building this whole network of interconnected curiosity, you know what I mean? And it's growing every day thanks to all of you. And if this is your first time tuning in, wow, welcome. We've got a huge archive of deep dives that you can check out. All sorts of fascinating topics, no pun intended. And don't forget to keep up with us on X, Instagram, and Threads for those extra little nuggets of knowledge and some behind-the-scenes fun.
Today, we're diving headfirst into a field that's really pushing the boundaries of science and technology, something that sounds straight out of science fiction but is quickly becoming reality: 3D composite bioprinting. Specifically, we're focusing on its role in fabricating artificial tissues, which is, a pretty huge deal.
Yeah, this topic came directly from you, our amazing listeners. It's at this crazy intersection of biology, engineering, and manufacturing. And the research out there paints such a vivid picture of this future where creating artificial tissues is becoming, like, almost commonplace. So we dove into a whole bunch of sources, some really cutting-edge stuff to try and understand, what's really happening in this field, what are the big breakthroughs, and where is it all headed?
Exactly. Our goal today is to distill all that complex research into something that's clear, engaging, and helps you really grasp what's going on. We're going to focus on how combining different 3D printing techniques and all these amazing materials is leading to these incredible advancements in building artificial tissues.
Okay, so first things first. For anyone who's not familiar, can we just break down what exactly 3D bioprinting is and why is this composite aspect so important?
So 3D bioprinting, think of it as taking the basic concept of 3D printing and giving it this biological twist. Instead of those typical materials like plastics or metals, we're using something called bioink. Yeah, bioink is this fascinating mixture of living cells, maybe some therapeutic drugs, and growth factors. Yeah. The whole point is to not just print a bunch of cells, but to actually build something that mimics the complex structure and, ideally, the function of natural tissues, even organs. Think of it as going from just bricks to building an entire house.
That was a really cool way to put it. But the human body is incredibly complex, right? Like, how do you even begin to replicate something like, let's say, the heart?
Right. The heart is an incredible machine. It has so many different cell types, all these precisely aligned muscle fibers, and it needs to beat in this very specific rhythmic way. It's definitely challenging. Or take something like a nerve. Nerves have this very ordered directional structure, almost like tiny wires. Even a blood vessel, it has a very particular arrangement of fibers to give it strength and flexibility in specific directions. So you see, natural tissues aren't just uniform blobs of cells. They're these complex layer structures with very specific arrangements at a microscopic level. And that's where the composite part comes in.
So a single 3D printing method just wouldn't be enough. It'd be like trying to paint a masterpiece with only one color, right?
That's a great way to think about it. A single bioink and a single printing technique, they just can't capture all that complexity and functional detail that you find in natural tissues. So researchers are developing these incredible composite bioprinting techniques that integrate two or more different printing methods, each bringing its own strength to the table. It's like having a whole set of brushes and paints, allowing you to create something far more intricate and realistic. And on top of that, many of these composite approaches also incorporate what's called physical field regulation.
Physical field regulation. Sounds intense.
It is. It basically means using things like light, magnetic fields, or even sound waves, either during or after the printing process, to further manipulate the printed material or how the cells arrange themselves. It's like adding another layer of control, fine-tuning the whole process.
Wow, so it's not just about the printing itself, it's about controlling the environment as well. Fascinating. Okay, let's get into some of these specific techniques. Our research pointed to extrusion printing combined with dynamic cross-linking as one of the foundational techniques in composite bioprinting.
Yeah, extrusion printing is like the workhorse of bioprinting. Think of it as squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. You use mechanical force, like a plunger or air pressure, to push the bioink through a tiny nozzle, building up the structure layer by layer. And that dynamic cross-linking, it means you're controlling how the bioink solidifies in real time as it's being printed.
So you can actually adjust how the material hardens as you go.
Exactly. This can be done by tweaking the printing settings, like the speed and pressure, or by using external forces like light, or changing the ionic concentration. It gives you incredible control over the final structure. One really cool example is something called coaxial extrusion.
Coaxial extrusion, like two things happening at once.
Exactly. You have a special nozzle with two channels, one inside the other. One channel extrudes the main bioink, and the other extrudes a material that causes it to solidify through ionic bonding. It's like building a pipe as you print, which is amazing for creating structures like blood vessels. And because you're controlling that cross-linking in real time, you can create these very delicate hollow structures that can actually integrate with living cells much better than earlier methods.
Wow, so it's not just mimicking the structure of a blood vessel, you're making it functional as well.
Right. It needs to be able to transport nutrients and waste just like a real blood vessel. And this method is really paving the way for creating thicker, more complex tissues that can be properly nourished.
Now, another technique that caught my eye was combining electrohydrodynamics with extrusion printing. I have to admit, I'm not even sure what electrohydrodynamics is.
It sounds very complex, but it's basically about controlling fluids with electric fields. Think of it as using electricity to shape and manipulate tiny droplets or jets of bioink. It's the principle behind techniques like electrospinning, which can create incredibly fine fibers, like way smaller than a human hair.
So how does that work with extrusion printing? It seems like you're combining this very precise, almost microscopic control with the more, macro level building of extrusion printing.
Exactly. It's about controlling both the big picture and the tiny details. The extrusion part provides that structural framework, like the scaffolding, while the electrohydrodynamics adds in those incredibly fine features that mimic the natural environment that cells like to live in. It's like building a house and then furnishing it with all the right details, creating a space that's both functional and comfortable. And this combo is proving really useful for things like bone and skin regeneration, where you need both strength and a welcoming environment for the cells to grow.
I can see how that would be crucial. And the research highlights some really interesting results from this technique.
Absolutely. One study by De Ruyter and their team combined hydrogel extrusion with electrostatic direct writing to create these bioconstructs that had really stable mechanical properties, but also very fine nanoscale details that influenced how cells were distributed. It's like building a bridge that's both strong and has all these intricate, almost invisible details that guide traffic flow. Another great example is Reitzer and colleagues. They actually built a multi-layered scaffold for repairing both nasal cartilage and the underlying bone.
So different layers for different types of tissue.
Exactly. They used something called fused deposition modeling, which is similar to extrusion, to create a porous support layer from a biocompatible polymer. Then they used electrospinning to create a superfine layer of a material that promotes cell adhesion and growth, basically building a custom-made environment for each type of tissue to thrive in.
It's like building a house with different rooms specifically designed for each family member, right?
Exactly. And Dilek Sompian's research team did something similar for bone and cartilage repair. They used melt electrowriting to create a strong framework and then use extrusion printing to deposit a bone-like material and a hydrogel for the cartilage layer. And what was really cool is that the framework dramatically increased the strength of the bond between the two layers, like adding rebar to concrete to make it stronger.
It's amazing how they're essentially weaving together these different materials and techniques to mimic the complexity of the body.
And it's still early days. Most of the research using this combo is still focused on building those supportive scaffold structures, directly printing the cells, the growth factors, and all the other stuff needed to make a truly functional tissue that's still very much in development.
It's like laying the foundation for a whole new era of bioengineering. Now, something else that kept popping up in our research was the use of external forces like light, magnetic fields, and sound waves in bioprinting. What's the role of these forces?
This is where things get really interesting. Researchers are finding that these non-contact forces can be used to control the printing process in really unique ways, especially when you're working with materials that are sensitive to their environment. It adds a whole new level of control.
Like sculpting the material with invisible hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to use sound waves to arrange cells into specific patterns as they're being printed. That's actually a thing. It's called ultrasonic-assisted extrusion printing, and it's based on this principle called acoustophoresis, where sound waves can actually move particles around.
It's mind-blowing. So it's like almost like levitating cells into the exact positions you want them.
In a way, yeah. And magnetic fields are being used in some really cool ways, too. Researchers are using magnets to control the orientation of magnetic particles within the bioink, creating materials that have different properties depending on the direction you're looking at them. It's like printing a material that's stronger in one direction than another, just like many natural tissues.
So you could actually print a material that's tailored to, like, withstand the specific stresses of a particular part of the body.
Exactly. And Kim and coworkers even built a system where they could use magnets to change the shape of a printed structure after it was already made. It's almost like programmable biological matter, which is, pretty futuristic.
That's insane. And all of this is pushing the development of bioprinting systems themselves, right? Like the actual machines that do the printing.
Absolutely. We've gone from just adapting those basic industrial 3D printers to having these really specialized BioCAD 3D printing systems specifically designed for handling living cells and all the complex materials involved in bioprinting.
What are some of the key features of these new age bioprinters?
Many of them have multiple print heads, so you can print with different materials at the same time. Precise temperature control is huge because cells are pretty sensitive to temperature changes. Laser-based calibration ensures that the print nozzles are positioned perfectly. Some even have high-resolution cameras to monitor the printing in real time, like making sure everything is going smoothly.
Wow, so they're basically mini labs on their own. Our research highlighted some specific platforms that stood out.
Yeah, there are a lot of really innovative systems out there. Shim and colleagues developed a platform that combines air pressure and piston-driven extrusion so it can handle a wider range of bioinks. Organovo has a system with dual print heads, temperature control, and laser calibration, the whole package. Watt Ainley and coworkers built a system specifically for printing those intervertebral disc scaffolds. RegenHU has a very versatile system that uses air pressure with really fine control. And EnvisionTech's 3D bioplotter is known for its precision and has all these cool features like swappable print heads and a Z-axis sensor for height control.
It's like the bioprinting world is going through its own technological revolution. And all of this is leading to some really exciting advancements in specific areas, like, for example, creating artificial skin.
Yeah, skin is much more complex than most people realize. It's got all these different layers, each with its own cell types and structure, and it's constantly regenerating and interacting with the environment.
So replicating it is a pretty big challenge.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But composite bioprinting is making it possible. Researchers are combining different techniques and materials to create these multi-layered skin equivalents that are closer than ever to real skin. One really promising development is the creation of skin with a functional vascular network.
Basically giving it its own blood supply.
Exactly. Kim et al. In 2019 actually printed a full-thickness skin equivalent with a vascular network. This is huge because it allows for the transport of nutrients and waste, which is essential for any thick tissue to survive and function.
Yeah, that vascularization seems to be key for so many different types of artificial tissues.
Absolutely. It's a major hurdle that we need to overcome to create more complex and functional tissues. And speaking of complex tissues, another area where bioprinting is making huge strides is bone tissue engineering. There's this massive demand for bone grafts, but traditional methods have all these limitations.
Like donor availability, rejection, and the need for multiple surgeries, right?
Exactly. Bioprinting offers a way to create personalized bone scaffolds that fit perfectly into the defect and can even be designed to promote bone growth.
And what are these scaffolds made of?
All sorts of things. Bioceramics are popular because they're similar to the minerals found in natural bone. Hydroxyapatite, tricalcium phosphate, biphasic calcium phosphate. These are all big names in the field. And they don't just act as structural support, they actually promote bone healing and integration.
So they're like actively encouraging the body to repair itself.
Exactly. And researchers are also using metallic materials like magnesium and titanium.
Oh.
Magnesium is cool because it's biodegradable, so it eventually disappears as the bone heals. And then there are all these new copolymers being developed that offer a combination of strength, biocompatibility, and controlled degradation.
Wow, so much material science involved.
Definitely. And then there are composite materials where you combine different types of materials to get the best of both worlds. Like you can combine a strong ceramic with a flexible polymer to create a scaffold that's both tough and can conform to the shape of the defect. And you can even add things like carbon nanotubes to increase strength and promote cell growth.
Carbon nanotubes, those are like those tiny tubes, right?
Yeah, super tiny and incredibly strong. They're also great for promoting cell adhesion and can even make the scaffold electrically conductive, which is potentially helpful for tissues that need to be connected to nerves or muscles.
It's like bioprinting is pushing the boundaries of materials science as well.
Yeah.
But how do they create those personalized scaffold? Like, how do they make sure it fits perfectly in the patient?
That's where medical imaging comes in. They use things like CT scans and MRI scans to create a 3D model of the defect, and then they use CAD software to design the scaffold to fit perfectly. It's like a custom-made bone replacement.
It's truly amazing. But scaling all of this up for mass production, that's got to be a huge challenge.
It is. Speed is a big one. Current bioprinting techniques can be pretty slow, especially for larger structures. Consistency is another issue. You need to make sure that every batch of bioink and every scaffold has the exact same properties, especially when it comes to things like safety and effectiveness.
It's like bioprinting is still a very, very precise and delicate process.
It is. But there are lots of efforts to automate the process, develop faster printing systems, and improve material management. And on top of that, researchers are constantly trying to improve the design of these scaffolds. Like, they need to take into account the different mechanical loads that different bones experience. A scaffold for a leg bone needs to be much stronger than one for a skull bone. And they're also working on scaffolds that release growth factors or other bioactive molecules over time to further promote healing.
So much thought goes into every aspect of the process. It's incredible.
Definitely. And the results are really promising. One study showed that scaffolds made with chitosan and cellulose nanocrystals promoted the growth of bone-forming cells. Another study showed that scaffolds coated with magnetic nanoparticles also enhanced bone formation. And there are even studies on bioprinting artificial periosteum, which is that membrane that surrounds bone and helps it heal.
It's amazing to see how this technology is evolving so rapidly. And it's not just about bone and skin, right? What are some of the other areas where bioprinting is showing promise?
Oh, the possibilities are pretty much endless. People are working on printing functional blood vessels, which is huge for creating larger, more complex tissues and organs. Liver tissue for drug testing and disease modeling, potentially reducing the need for animal testing. Skeletal muscle for studying muscle diseases and testing therapies. Nerve conduits to guide the regrowth of damaged nerves. And even living materials for environmental applications, like bioprinted bacteria that can clean up wastewater. It's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's like we're entering a whole new era of regenerative medicine and bioengineering, and it's all being driven by this ability to create these incredibly complex biological structures.
Exactly. 3D composite bioprinting is a game changer. It's giving us the tools to build tissues that are closer than ever to their natural counterparts, and it's opening up all these possibilities for treating diseases, repairing injuries, and even understanding the fundamental biology of the human body.
And as all of this becomes more sophisticated and moves closer to like everyday clinical practice, it raises some really important questions for all of us, right? Like, what are the ethical implications of being able to essentially create living tissue on demand? What are the potential societal impacts?
Yeah, absolutely. As this technology continues to evolve, we need to have those conversations, to think about the responsibility that comes with this power, to manipulate and create biological structures. It's a powerful tool, and we need to use it wisely.
It's definitely something to ponder. And on that note, we've reached the end of another deep dive here on the All Sorts podcast. But the exploration doesn't end here. If this episode sparked your curiosity, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us spread the knowledge, ignite those sparks in others, and together we can keep building this amazing community of curious minds. And don't forget to check out our archive of past episodes and follow us on social media for more insights and updates. Until next time, stay curious.